Hello, everybody, and welcome to the long-awaited True Champion Guide and kind of a Misery Metal Guide too. Once again, this is unscripted. I have pulled up a lot and made a lot of resources that I'm going to be going through. It's hard, so we'll try and go through it the best I can. Get ready for a knowledge dump. But yeah, it's a really, really complex monster and a really complex round. But this is going to go through absolutely everything you need to know, including stuff you probably already know, but just go over just be safe in case you're like brand new to the house and you just want to figure out kind of what this monster does, even if you just want to learn what he does in general before trying True Champion. So this is the Knightmare. He is the final boss of the house, and in Nightmare mode, this is spoilers, but becomes the True Knightmare. And this is the harder variant. And he has a lot of abilities, and they're all really complicated. But the first one he will do, and there's actually two first ones, but the base one is when the night starts, is the entire house will start catching fire in certain spots, and touching those spots will damage you and block your vision for a bit. And here we have a map. No, I think it's by Thunder. Yeah, this one. By Thunder. All the little purple spots are where fires are. When running through them will damage you. And there are more fires, but they're usually the other ones you see are cosmetic. So touching them don't damage you. Yeah, there's a lot of fires here. One in long, one that blocks atrium, one that blocks shop loop. One that, of course, just one area in the middle web to make the worst spot on Earth. But the best part about it, or actually kind of a saving grace, is that Lightfoot does work on these fires. So the recommended trait setup for this boss is usually Hasty plus Lightfoot to be able to traverse the map and dodge the fires. And yeah, that's the first ability he has. And second is the Blood Duo. So for the first 2 minutes of the round, you actually aren't even going to be facing off against the Knightmare. He sends in two of his minions. So the Blood Duo, this is Wasp, and this is Blood Sentinel. So these are harder variants of monsters that you faced already. So Wasp works about the same. He just does more damage and is faster. So it's pretty much always going to be right behind you. And it's the harder version of the Wisp. And this is the harder, well, harder in a different way. It's just a changed version of the Sentinel, where he no longer cares about movement, but more he cares about distance. So if he is far away from you, he will run. And when he gets close to you, he will start walking. And if he sees you, no matter if you're far or close, he will start shooting with a gun. And he is programmed to be very inaccurate with it. So it's easy to dodge, but it can be pretty scary because his damage output is really high if you aren't dodging, or if he does just get lucky and hit a few in a row. So in general, the loops for these guys are going to be, yeah, we're going to use this map. The most basic one you see pretty much everyone do is start here. You can zoom in. You start here, and you just start doing a square around storage. Like this. And when you get to the edge here, usually Sentinel will be back here and start shooting at you. So usually you want to start jumping around here when you get near the turns. And jumping helps you dodge the bullets. Sometimes if Sentinel gets too close, you can strafe left and right to dodge him better. And Sentinel usually ends up just getting stuck either inside storage or like around these edges where he can't see you. So it's probably, in my opinion, it is the best loop you can do for Blood Duo. But the only problem, it is dependent on Therm Gate. And this is the name of the gate. I'll be going to gates. I'll be going over gates a little bit later. But this gate right here, it is dependent on, because you're gonna be running through here. So there's a variation you can do for it that is a little worse and slightly harder to do. Where you follow my mouse here, you go like here to the box, go through Therm, around, but when you get to here, you go through here instead of around. You go through here to get a slightly shorter path, and then you can make it the Thermo easier. And it's less RNG than just doing the full box, avoiding Therm Gate. Only problem you have to worry about is this web, and sometimes Blood Sentinel will just be here ready to shoot you, or sometimes Blood Sentinel won't get here fast enough and cut you off this way when you're going through here. So you really just have to be careful. And just be kind of aware if you're going to do this loop. But it is RNG, so be very careful. In general, Blood Duo is RNG. My second favorite loop, besides the box with no Therm Gate, is this window loop. This window loop in general. You start right here, wait for them to come from mid. I should have prefaced this, but they do always spawn in mid. Blood Duo and the Knightmare always spawn in mid. Monster spawn does not matter. But they will spawn in mid, they'll come here, and you want to be standing here waiting for them to come. Once you see Blood Sentinel running at you, you just start doing window loop. You shouldn't have to pause at all. Sometimes in this loop, Blood Sentinel will run over Wasp, and you'll get flung. So it'll kind of just be on the floor and you'll run by him. So it is a little scary sometimes. But usually Wasp is really easy to dodge. You don't have to worry about that. Other loops, I don't know. Other loops are really RNG. Shop loop you can do, but this long stretch of here can get you shot really easily, and you need to use Lightfoot. Mid loop is okay. You need to be a lot more aware with where Sentinel is. Install a bit. Yeah, any other loop, I wouldn't really recommend. Or that I know of. Maybe outside loop with Lightfoot works. Not sure. Yeah, let's get... Here is, of course, I can talk about it all day of how to do it, but I'll show you how to do it. And this is in my Misery Metal completion, so this is slightly buffed Blood Duo, but it's the same for both of them. I don't have Therm Gate here, so I'm just doing the box loop. We not lag, thank you. Yeah, this is how it plays out when you're actually doing it. You're just running in a square. That fire is cosmetic on that corner there, so you don't have to worry about it. And I recommend Baron for the Blood Duo, but if you absolutely have to, then use Lightfoot, depending on the loop you're doing. But a headshot from Blood Sentinel does 95 damage. So if you get headshot with Lightfoot, you will just die due to Lightfoot giving you 85 max health. And Baron, if you're full health, has a chance to proc and save you, which I always like. It's just reducing RNG as much as you can. But yeah, pretty simple. It's actually very simple to loop, just RNG sometimes. Yeah, you can see Sentinel will just be shooting bullets, and almost always you'll just be able to dodge them super easily. If you do die to this, it's almost always not your fault though, so don't worry. It is just a really stupid RNG check right before the final boss. I hate it. Yeah, moving on from that, let's go to his next ability, marking you as a target, aka 5 totems. So when you hear people talk about totems regarding the Knightmare, this is what they're talking about. So if you see, we go right here. As soon as Knightmare screams, this UI will pop up on your screen saying find the 5 totems before it's too late. The Knightmare has marked you as a target. So basically, the Knightmare will mark everyone alive as a target until they die. And the only way to cure the mark, so... Well, basically, you get marked as a target, And after about a little less than 3 minutes, you will die if you still have the mark on you. And the only way to clear the mark off of you is by collecting 5 totems. And the totems themselves, and collecting the totems is almost always the hardest part of True Champion, and is why True Champion itself is a badge, because of how hard it is to get the totems alone. But thankfully, I have made a map, and I know that this map is stupid with all the things and stuff, but I have made a map, and I have named the totem sets. And we found out that there's only 3 totem sets, and you can figure out what totem set it is by always starting bathroom. You can see this is why I start bathroom, because depending on if there's a totem here, or in bathroom, or no totem at all, I'll know exactly where every single other totem is. And the first set here, I named this the nothing set because there's no totem next to gramophone and no totem next to the bathroom or in the bathroom. You see there's no totems here. And this is the nothing set. You got one outside, got one in storage, got one in carpet, got one in this TV corner, and then got one in attic. And these are the names I say for them. Pretty simple. And then the next totem set is the gramophone totem set. And we call it gramophone, or I called it gramophone, because it spawns with a totem here at gramophone, right next to the gramophone. Gramophone. Yeah, it's this thing right here. And you see this one. This is actually, when I was first naming these sets, I called this one the Quick 3, because you can get gramophone, you can get this storage corner totem area. I just call it corner. And you can get atrium totem just super fast in these 3. And then all the way across the map, you have a totem on where the mini Minotaur spawns, and then a corner in the, or a totem in the attic corner. Did I say that right? I'm sure I said that right. Yep, that's set 2, gramophone set, and then the bathroom set, which is often, almost always, the hardest set. The hardest set is always dependent on what gates you get, but in general, if there are no gates, this is the hardest set because of every totem being in a corner. That's usually hard to get to. And I actually named it the 4 corners set when I was making it because of that. You have one in bathroom, and you have one in this outside corner that's really devious and can be hard to get to and can be scary with getting followed by touching the fence. And then you have one in the clock corner, also sucks, and one in the window corner, which sucks. Only good totem here is this TV one that you can almost always get pretty easily. And another thing about totems is that they are very gate dependent. So I'll start talking about gates now. Here's the map by spirit. These are the names of all the gates here. And you can see the lockdowns. I'll zoom in. The lockdowns, you have the different colors for them. So new and old is storage, otherwise storage lockdown, otherwise named as box. Some people call it box as well. And this is clock lockdown with pin clock and all that. Yeah, this is the map. You can read it. But the main RNG comes from what gates you get. So they can make it harder to collect totems or not. The worst singular gate is window, because it makes this window totem an insane dead end. You can go back here. Look, this is where the totem is. You have to go all the way through here to get it, and then all the way back out, either through piano or through this one dead end again, depending on if you have piano gate or not. And it's just an insane dead end that requires block state almost every single time. And then once again, if you have clock lockdown with this piano and clock gate, then you have to try and get this clock totem with an insane dead end. If you don't have short gate, you can go through here if he's chasing behind you. So crazy. And then the next worst gate is going to be Atrium. So just one singular gate Atrium gives you a dead end here to get this Atrium totem. Let's go to this one. This is where the Atrium totem is. This one gate will block you off this entire area. So you have to go into this dead end. It's a lot shallower than window. And then you can get out through outside or something, depending on how close he is to you. So yeah, most of these dead ends are going to require you to boost or wait for a good phase. Knightmare will do, and we'll get into phases a little bit later. And then there's also Attic Lockdown, which can make this totem hard and this back totem very hard if you have Attic Lockdown, because there's only one way to go, and you got all the way back here. All the way back down the stairs before you can even loop them. And then one more, I guess, is, or two more, I guess, is if you have bad gates storage here, you have storage lockdown with these gates here, otherwise known as box. This totem's pretty hard to get. It's a minor dead end. If you have carpet lockdown with these three gates, which is very rare, you're almost never going to see this in an actual run. If you have carpet lockdown, getting this is going to be another dead end. So yeah, lots of dead ends depending on the gates. That's why True Knightmare, or what am I saying? True Champion is very RNG to a point, but you can minimize it by knowing and memorizing these sets and playing perfectly with Block Seed and Coffee. So that's that. Next ability, very simple. Simplest one here, insta-kill. If he reaches you at all, gets in melee range, he'll melee you and instantly kill you. If you're the last one alive and he melees you, he'll do a little cutscene, which is pretty cool. Next one, health drain, and about like a 50 stud radius around him, maybe like 30 stud, I don't know. Goes through walls. You'll drain your health. You'll drain your health by 3 every second. This one's pretty simple too. Then there's Surge, which is pretty complicated. So he can do this at any time, as long as he's within like a 50 stud medium range radius of you. He can surge, and this is the noise for him surging. He can do that at any point. And what it does is it damages you first, and then it sit stuns you. Oh, it does it at the same time. It damages and sit stuns you at the same time. And what a sit stun is it makes you sit, and you are unable to move until you jump. And then the damage is between, it's actually RNG, but usually it's between 10 and 20 damage. And I've heard that it scales the further away you are, but I don't know how true that is. I think it might just be RNG. Usually I see it doing about 13 damage. And the max I've seen it done is about 16. So yeah, it's usually around there. And then this is True Knightmare exclusive. Ability, so you don't have to worry about this if you're just doing base True Champion. But I'll explain it for the purposes of this video. It's called the Denouement Scream, and this is the sound cue for it. It's a really generic sound cue that the Knightmare uses for a lot of other things. But yeah, this is the ability the sound cue uses for the Denouement Scream as well. And what the Denouement Scream does is he stands still and winds it up. He can do it at any phase. It's a 60-second cooldown. So after 60 seconds of not using it, he can do it at any point. And when he starts the round, he can do it at any point as well. And he stands still and charges it up. And at the end of the scream, anyone close to him will have their health divided by 4 or 5 or something like that. And anyone far away will have their health set to 5. And far away is like 30 studs away or so. And it's more than that. and you'll be sit stunned if you're too far as well. So it is the True Knightmare's strongest ability. It can get you killed very easily if you aren't paying attention. And we can go, we can see that right now actually. We'll see how I deal with it. You should do it soon. Oh, this isn't doing it. I'm set to 5 health because I'm marked as too far away there. So it is like you have to be really close to not be set to 5 health. And you can see the counter I did was placing a med kit down, or a health kit, and then jumping on it before it goes off because it gives 20 healing a second after you pick it up for 5 seconds. And that is some really good instant healing after. And then I'm also overlapping a golden apple bite at the same time. So yeah, then he goes right back into whatever phase he was doing after doing that. And here we get to his most powerful, well, his main gimmicky ability is the phase swap. And here I have my entire paragraph of everything and timestamps to show you. So there are 9 phases. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yep. There are 9 total phases, and he will always start in base phase, and after ending one of his other phases, he will always go back to base phase. And the length he can stay in base phase depends on what variant you're dealing with. The Knightmare and the True Knightmare, he stays in it for 10 seconds before having a chance to swap to another phase. Unless it's the start of the round, then he will almost always instantly go to another phase because he hasn't swapped. He's no cooldown yet. And his duration depends. The speed of his base phase is slightly faster than hasty, like +1 or +2 speed. So he does outrun you if you aren't turning corners. He has no abilities, and this is the sound cue for it. It's a very weird sound cue. It's sometimes very hard to recognize it if you aren't really familiar with it. So always be listening for that so you know when he's ending his phase. And then the first gimmicky phase we have is Corruption phase. He mimics the Corruption monster. The duration, it lasts 20 seconds. So he stays in this phase for 20 seconds. And the main power of this phase is he changes his stats with his speed. So he goes slower than you in sight and much faster than you out of sight. So he pretty much is just teleporting right behind you and then slowing down. And here's the sound cue for it. Same noise as the Corruption. And we'll go... what timestamp was that? So in my run, I got it at the very start. So actually, we've already seen this when I was demonstrating the screen. He makes the noise, and he's going to be right behind me. I do really wide turns around storage here and let him see me as much as possible. And I'm going to be using Tatujo's footage because he actually demonstrates his face a lot better. So you can see, he's like right behind you, and he's spamming jump because he surges a lot. So he doesn't want to get sit stunned. Pretty much always just going to be right here, right behind you. And the main problem with this phase is that when it ends, like now, Knightmare is faster than you with like no distance between you and him. So you have to boost away almost always, unless you're really close to a turn when he ends the phase. So that's Corruption. It's one of the hardest phases you'll get. It's one of the hardest phases you'll get. And I can say that without voice cracking. Wonderful. And just always when you're turning corners, try to turn them really wide so we can see you as long as possible. And you can actually see when it's going down long here. Let's go. You're gaining like no distance at all, even when you are in the sight. You can see he's just always right behind you. So it's really hard to do much in this phase. So when you have it, I almost always just focus on surviving. It's a really hard phase, and it can be kind of RNG. And yeah, always spam jump during it. Because another thing I forgot to mention about the surge is that he surges more if he can see you. And so phases like Corruption, where he's forced to see you pretty much, he's going to be surging a lot. So you want to be jumping, just spamming jump so you don't get sit stunned. Because sit stunned, you stop moving for half a second, you're just dead in a Corruption phase. And the next phase we have is Whisper, which is the opposite of Corruption phase, where he's much faster than you in sight, but slower than you out of sight. And we have a clip, or let's do the sound cue first, is what it sounds like when he does the phase. It's the same noise at the start or end of a Whisper or Tenebris round. And let's go to this. I said 748. So let's go about here. He does the noise. And he slows down a lot. So the biggest thing you want to be thinking about when he's doing this is just like the slowdown of him. Because you don't want him to flank. He flanks, you die. Or flank as in reverse the loop. So I'm just taking my time being very cautious to make sure he never sees me, but also make sure he's never going to reverse. You can watch that again. I'm just sitting here. I slow down. You can see the particles around him. He's coming. I hide. Check for him while not in sight. So I'm here. Wait for him. See him coming. Stall a little bit here. And then go. So yeah, just play very, very careful during this phase. The main threat of this phase is that he can do it. He can swap to this phase anytime he's in base and he's able to do a phase change. So if you're running trying to get totems and he swaps to this phase and you aren't prepared for it and you're just in sight, then you'll just die. So pretty much the threat is that almost every single time he's about to do a phase swap, you need to be out of sight so he doesn't swap into this phase and kill you. And the next phase we have is Glitch phase. He mimics the glitch monster, last 20 seconds. And while you're looking at the Knightmare, he will stop moving completely. But if you aren't looking, he'll go really, really fast, catch up to you almost instantly. He's no abilities, and let's go watch me do this. It's very simple. I guess we could do the sound cue first. Just the glitch sound cue, and you'll hear it here. Yep, same exact thing. And I just stand here and watch him. In this phase, you can loop him while looking at him if you need to get totems still. This is the main phase you use to get hard to get totems if you can't boost. You see, you can scream during this phase too. Oh, I just cracked my neck. That was good. But yeah. I've died because he swapped into this phase and I didn't look at him fast enough. So always be ready for when you hear the sound cue to just instantly go first person and look at him. And I will explain this now. I've explained it 500 times before, but for the people in comments that are going to be like, oh, please explain it. I didn't know this. What counts as looking and not looking? Well, what counts as looking is where your player model itself is facing, where the model of your face is facing in your field of view, about 180 degree around you. of where your model is facing. So this is why I go into first person, so I can easily face my model towards him. And you'll see with silence phase, it's the opposite, where he's slower than you when you aren't looking, but much faster when you are looking. And I actually worded this wrong. Let me say that real quick. It's actually kind of weird. He's kind of like corruption. He's like weaker corruption stats, where he's slower than you in sight and faster than you out of sight. If you look, you die. He speeds up a lot. I guess I'll write that. That's like the best way to describe it. He's really weird. But in general, his speed stats are like weaker corruption, where he'll run up behind you, and as soon as he sees you, he'll start walking really slow. And if you ever face your player model towards him and have line of sight of him, he will run so fast it's basically teleporting and kill you. And this is the sound cue for it. He says, "Look at me." Let me go to 515 here. I don't get a very good showing of it. You see, I'm boosting away from him. I'm going to get a totem. He says, "Look at me." He's in silence phase, and I'm just looking away while running away. He is catching up really fast because he has many corruption stats, but not fast enough for him to catch me there. And you can see I face away after getting the totem because I don't want to look at him. After getting his totem, I'm just facing away. Don't want to look at him. And then he's right behind me. And I'm just going. Oops, okay. That's silence phase. Like corruption phase, he's going to be surging a lot in this phase. Same with glitch phase, I didn't mention this, since you need to be in line of sight, and silence is like corruption, similar. He's going to be seeing you a lot, so he's going to be surging a lot. So remember to spam jump as you're running away. And this is where we get into the phases that are mainly abilities. And so we have Knightmare phase, 6 seconds. It's the shortest phase by far. And its speed is slower than you. He pretty much walks up to you, but he stops when he's close and can see you. And the abilities, he brings in red/blue fog. It's red fog if you're dealing with the Knightmare, and blue fog if you're dealing with the true Knightmare. And once the fog closes in to you, it stuns you for 3 seconds and deals about 40 damage. And then I'll show you the phases here. Let's go back. So the sound cue for it, I'm sure I'll remember one of these days. So it sounds like I'm reacting to the fog closing in rather than the sound cue almost always as to when it's happening. You see I get stunned there, can't move. And he's still stopping, and once he swaps, he's running after me again. And then I get it again at 540. I'm just healing. And once he swaps, you can see he starts running again. So as for strategies with this phase, it's actually kind of complicated. The first strategy is, since if he stuns you while you're moving, I don't have a clip of it anywhere, but if you ask Tenko13, he will show you a clip of how when you get stunned, and if you're moving, you'll continue that momentum and even fly in the air if it's upwards momentum. So you're pretty much just like in zero gravity for a second. And the counter to that is right before it stuns you is just stop moving. And you'll just stand in place like I do. So you can see, I recognize the fog coming in. and I just stop moving. And the reason you don't want to go flying is because if you're outside, you'll just hit a fence and get followed and die instantly. If you're inside, you can go to a really unideal place and sometimes even get followed while inside. So I like to just be in control of my movement. And another thing, man, I'm losing my voice already. Another thing is the damage is a lot. And when you pair that with his damage radius, Tumor phase, which does damage to you, I'll be talking about later, surge damage, like fire and bear trap damage, if you hit that too, it's a lot of damage. And so what I like to do, and I do it perfectly somewhere, I forget where. So this one, I think it was this one. I actually do the tech here. What I like to do, as soon as he does Knightmare phase, I swap to beans, start eating it, go back to golden apple, take a bite of golden apple, and then right before the beans finish, I swap back and then heal. And this is to minimize the RNG of him just walking up to you and surging and surging and surging and just killing you. That's happened to me. Felt really bad. It was really annoying. But yep. That's what I like to do with that phase. So I'm just keeping crude beans specifically for when he does Knightmare phase and pretty much never else. You don't really need it anytime else. And then along with that, we have Collar phase. The last 10 seconds. His speed is much faster than you, but he stops when he sees you. And his abilities is he locks your movement and forces you to move towards him for 5 seconds. So he calls you towards him. He mimics the Collar ability, the Collar monster ability. And to get out of it is after 5 seconds, you just want to spam W to be able to remove again. And this is the sound cue for it. Kind of like shushes you in a weird way. There's a surge in there, so it's kind of distorted or unclear. And we can go to 840 and see what this looks like. You put the UI on your screen as well. You can see he's just standing there. I'm spamming jump to get out. And the strategy I did there is just keeping line of sight while getting distance. A common mistake people do is just continuing their loop. And then when he swaps out of color phase, then he's just in base form right behind them, and they just can't make distance. Because since color phase is much faster than base phase, and much faster than you, out of sight, then it can catch up really fast right behind you. And then when he swaps to base, he won't have that stop in line of sight command, and he'll just be right behind you and catch up. I've seen a lot of deaths like that. So I like to always get as much distance as possible while keeping line of sight. You can see he's all the way at window, and I'm just standing here at clock waiting for him to swap, and then I'm running. Makes base noise, and I'm just out. And that's just my way to minimize RNG as much as possible. And next we have Wooden Knightmare phase. This is the fun one. Technically, this is the shortest phase, but it's weird. But yeah, the duration is pathed to you plus 5 seconds, and you'll see what I mean. His speed is blazingly fast until he reaches you. He's incredibly fast. But once he reaches you, he just fully stops until he swaps back to base. And the ability is he forces a surge once he reaches you. So when he swaps to wooden, you'll run to you and then surge. And he'll always surge no matter what, even if it should be on cooldown. And this is the sound cue for it. You can see it's like a little music box. And here we have what it looks like. He also turns slightly transparent while he does it, so he's harder to see. You can see what it looks like with this. So you see just run super fast to me, and then stand still. Here I thought you needed to be in line of sight from the stop, but I don't think you need to be. I think it's just you will stop no matter what. Yeah, that's wooden. He gains a lot of distance on you. Pretty much forces him to get close. So it can be really annoying phase. But in general, it's pretty chill. And for currently, before Ufer updates it, on the base Knightmare, when he does wooden phase, it will break his AI and stop him from doing any other phase. So when doing True Champion, if he just does wooden phase first, you're just looping Iron Flesh while getting totems. Because he just will not swap phases anymore. So that's something to always know. The True Knightmare does not do that. But base Knightmare currently does. He's very buggy. And the final phase is Tumor. It lasts 15 seconds, slightly shorter than normal phases. And the speed is the same as base, so slightly faster than hasty. And the ability is it implants a tumor that does 3 damage every like 0.75 seconds or so. And it lasts for like, I think it's RNG, where it's between 60 and 90 seconds or something. But currently, wow, 623, I didn't even realize. But on my attempt, it lasted for 65 seconds, the tumor. And this is what the sound cue is. It's just a tumor scream. And we can go see it here. You can already see just the damage stacking, how much I'm taking over time. And it's very scary. You can see I'm just looping him like base phase, super simple. You can see just on top of his surging plus tumor plus damage radius, I'm just getting down to 40 health while I'm healing. So if he does Knightmare while I'm doing that, I'm just dead. It's so crazy how much damage he can output. And let's go about a minute later. Around here where the tumor goes off. So you can hear it's a really quiet ripping off noise when it disappears, but it is gone. If you look, no more tumor inside me. And yeah, that lasted about a little over a minute. So that is all the phases. It is a lot. And now let's talk about general strategy on what to do, depending on totem sets and everything and gates. And first, let's just look at the totem sets. And I'll explain how to do each one. And so every single time after Blood Duo is over, you want to be starting Bathroom. And luckily, once the Knightmare does his scream, he won't lock to your camera to him. Only the True Knightmare does that. So you'll be able to see the totem spawns, whether it's in Bathroom or Graham or none. You'll notice totem set right away and be able to collect it and get a bunch of distance on him. So, for nothing, the hardest totem you have is, it depends on gates, but gateless, the hardest totem you have is probably going to be Carpet or Attic. But in general, this is a really easy totem set. So what I do is, it depends. If you're doing base Knightmare, as soon as you see it's nothing, so just say you're doing the Knightmare and you're doing True Champion, depending on how fast you recognize the totem set, then you can just immediately run to storage or go like this and then out, depending on gates, and get the storage totem, because he's just going to be stun locked in mid while he's screaming for the longest time. And then you just do an outside loop and extend it to get this totem while looping him. This TV totem, you can do window loop or long loop and extend it to get it. Carpet totem, same thing. You barely have to go off the path for these. The biggest change is going to be having to get the attic totem. Because you need to go up to attic. What I like to do, obviously it's gate dependent, but what I like to do is run up attic stairs, stall around here, wait to see him come upstairs, and then run, get this totem, loop around, go back downstairs. If you have attic lockdown, you just block it up, get this, run back. Depending on how much distance you have. You need as much distance as possible when trying to get this with attic lockdown. If you just have normal attic gate, I do the same thing, except I wait here and wait for him to come up the stairs, and then I just run, get it, out. It's very simple set. For gramophone set, pretty much the same thing. Get this immediately, depending on what phase he does. Loop around. If you have shop L, you don't want to loop around through shop. You want to just do a square around storage, or just wait to get this atrium totem. Instead, actually, thinking about this now, if you're doing base Knightmare, it's probably best to just get this gramophone totem, go through kitchen, and get atrium as fast as you can. If he does a bad phase, it's scary, but you can always live it. And then loop through outside, go to get this totem here, and then just continue on getting totems. Minotaur totem is a bit of a dead end. The hardest totems of the set, there's 3. You have atrium, Minotaur, and this attic corner totem. All of these can be hard depending on gates, can be very, very hard. And so this is often considered the second hardest set, or second easiest, depending on how you want to look at it. And if you have attic lockdown, always got a Bloxy for this. If you don't have any gates in attic, you kind of need a coffee for this totem anyways, because it's just out of the way unless you have a lot of distance. And depending on phase. And then Minotaur, if you have clock, you're gonna need a coffee for this. If you don't, you can kind of get it. Might need a coffee anyways. This is the hardest set. This is bathroom set. Pretty much all of these you need a lot of distance for. I like to use Bloxy to get clock and window at the same time. If you're doing just base, the Knightmare, you're not going to have the Denouement scream to be able to just go and get these totems. But if you're doing true Knightmare, just wait for a scream and just instantly Bloxy get these 2. Once you have these 2, it's just a lot easier in general. Because then the only thing you have to worry about is this outside corner. You can get that with coffee really easily. Yeah, pretty much it's almost forced boosting for all these totems. So just play very carefully. And I can yap all day, but I just want to go through kind of my thought process as I do this. As I do my true champion with the true Knightmare. And obviously the start, blood duo, very, very simple. I'm gonna skip this. Here we are. So I just swapped the Lightfoot. Well, actually, I go here first. I actually forget to swap the Lightfoot for a bit. But I do something kind of silly where I just go and place Cheerful Lights, because there's like no reason not to place Cheerful Lights on where it's going to come from. But I just do this anyways. And then I remember like, oh, I need to swap to Lightfoot. So I do that. Place my Cheerful Lights for fun. They don't do anything. You can't hear the sound of the Cheerful Lights at all over everything going on. There's really nothing to it. But I just do that for fun. Yeah, just here at bathroom waiting. And you can see I type gates in chat and the totem sets in chat, just so I can easily remember them. You see, boom, you get gramophone set. So I immediately pick up this totem, go running. As soon as I'm pretty much always, if you get a totem in bathroom or gramophone and you go get it, he's almost always going to swap to a phase as you're running past Thermgate. So just always be ready for that. And so here, I'm just like, ready, I'm looking at him. I'm just like, what are we going to do? As soon as I do it, just corruption. And this is the hardest phase. You need to focus entirely on looping. So I'm just doing this square around storage. There's a lot of corruption loops. I don't worry about looping corruption specifically until you get to the true Knightmare. The Knightmare corruption phase is really simple, and you can do pretty much anything on it. Just remember to take wide turns. So I'm not going to go in depth on loops to do for them. But this box around storage loop does work well. You can see he screams. I'm just going to sit here, heal up, get that totem while I can. He's still in corruption phase. As soon as he swaps, I'm going to boost, get distance, and I'm going to go for Minotaur totem. And I'm going to build distance by going around piano. This is how I build distance with coffee. See, I wait for him to see him, and I'm going to go. Just Knightmare, which kind of helps, kind of doesn't. I just get it and run. You just swap off really fast. And now I'm thinking I just need Atrium. So since I'm on the complete other side of the map, my two totems left are Atrium and Attic. And I'm on the other side of Atrium totem. I'm just at window and TV right now. I'm on the complete other side of the map, so I'm really far from Atrium, which means if I Bloxiate right now, I will get a lot of distance on the Knightmare. So it'll be really easy to get Atrium totem because it is in a dead end right now. I do have Atrium gate. So I Bloxiate. He does silence phase, but it's okay. Silence phase I still get distance on. You can see I have Atrium gate right there. I get the totem, look away. Now I'm just outside. It's always good to loop outside when it's not corruption phase. And now I just need to swap to hasty. And keep going. Loop him back, get some distance. I know he's super close because the silence phase is always close. He's always close. So now I just need to get this Attic totem. See this Knightmare phase here, so I'm going to stand still as fast as I can. And heal, overlap my bean heal. Wait for him to come. So this is the part where you need to use coffee if you're looping him here. If you don't have like glitch phase or something, to be able to get this Attic totem, because unless you have a billion distance on him, you just can't get it without dying. Luckily for me, I was able to get a scream during it. Still coffee away to be safe. But if you're doing base the Knightmare where there is no scream, I would wait for him to come around this corner. And then I would coffee right now. And get distance. And then I would run and get the totem like this. And even then it's close. So honestly, your best play, if you're doing the Knightmare, is to just coffee right here before you're even in attic. Get as much distance as you can. And then go up and get the attic totem. And then start looping and get back down. They're literally just coffeeing before you get an attic to get as much distance as possible is the play to get that totem. And if you have distance without having the coffee, that's super good. Because it's always nice to have boost in case of corruption phase. Man, it's late. But yeah, it's always nice to have boost. So use coffee if you have to for totems. But in general, you can just get distance by looping well. Here I'm going down. I'm just running to get as much distance as possible. And to me, getting distance is just going through shop. Because I do have all 5 totems now, so I do just need to live. So yeah, just trade swapping, always make sure to have haste plus Lightfoot. And now I'm just going to window loop. And I loop him to death after. Pretty simple, nothing really hard or complicated happens that I haven't explained yet. But yeah, the hardest part is just making the good micro decisions how I get totems. I really can't tell you fully, or even like, well, I can't really explain fully every good possible best decision at every possible moment on when you need to get totems, how you need to get totems, how much distance you need, when you need to boost, what phase to get totems in, and just everything like that is just so much that I can't just explain. I literally can't explain it all. So it just get practice. You need lots and lots of practice. True champion itself is pretty much just totem practice. It's just learning how to get totems. And if you just memorize these totem sets, it will help a lot. And just learning where you need to go. And like I said, don't be afraid to use Bloxy for dead ends. Every single totem set has a totem that is like worst case scenario you'll need to use Bloxy for. For nothing, it's attic. For whatever it's called, gramophone, it's atrium and kind of attic. Sometimes depends. And then for bathroom, it's window and clock totems that you can just get at the same time, hopefully with the same Bloxy. So it is balanced in a way where it's not fully impossible every single time. But it is very hard. And if you aren't just like keeping track of literally everything, not being in sight when a phase swap happens, and just all the billion of RNG occurrences that can happen, and just trying to prevent bad stuff. It's really just knowledge check, and this is all the knowledge I've got for you. Long one. And another thing with the Knightmare, when you're doing True Champion, the Knightmare is very RNG. Because for whatever reason, he's bugged right now, so he can do 2 phases at once. Which is something that's very stupid. The True Knightmare does not have this bug. The Knightmare bug will be fixed eventually. He should not be able to do 2 phases at once. You can get stuff like Whisper plus Corruption, and it's just lose. You can get stuff like Glitch plus Collar, Base plus Collar, everything you'll lose. And yeah, that's why True Champion's really RNG right now. True Champion with the True Knightmare is not RNG, surprisingly. But it is very, very, very hard. But yeah, if you're doing True Champion with base Knightmare, which everyone will be, it is RNG. You'll need a lot of temps out of it. Thank you for watching. Please let me know anything else you want to know about this freaking behemoth of a monster. There's infinite knowledge. I can't cover it all in one video. But thank you for watching.